Hello everybody, welcome to my new Sunday market breakdown. Okay, so let's start with the DXY as usual. So we start with the monthly chart, and what I can see is from last week we were forecasting that we can have this shoulder one, this head. These are the same high, so this is the head, and then the shoulder two, which is already touched right now. So what I expect now is that there can come in some sellers. We are at a major selling point because these were all sellers that came in, sellers that kicked in, sellers that kicked in till these major lows here, as you can see. So if I go now to the weekly chart, you will see it much more clear. You can see that the sellers kicked in very nicely from that point till this lows. Sellers kicked in till this lows, and the sellers kicked in with a false break till this lows here with a lot of false breaks at this zone. So it's a nice indication that the bears can also kick in from that horizontal line with a false break possible, and then the break of structure here for a possible reversal. So we need to see what will happen there in the future. So yeah, I will just delete these two zones. So we have also a nice weekly minus 27 fib completion. So if I take my Fibonacci from the low here till high, minus 27 fib completion. So that's a nice indication that we have. And if I go to the daily chart, you can see that we have already just didn't tap the minus 6080 daily fib completion. So from the low here to the high, minus 6080. This is a red candle, as you can see in institutional candle, sorry. So we didn't tap it yet, but yeah, I can expect that we can tap this and then have some bearish momentum, and then the reversal pattern in the form of a head and shoulders that is possible to play out for more downside momentum. So we need to see what will happen at this region, very important region right now. So if I go to my first pair that I had in mind, so the AUDUSD pair, if I go to the monthly chart, you can see that we have this monthly big selling region that got tapped and triggered this massive bearish setups, bearish orders, sorry. So what I can see is that we have this bearish W right here that can play out with the support, resistance, nice supply and demand for more downside momentum. And what we can already see is that we have a nice rejection of that zone with the bearish candle. So that's nice to see already. If I go to the weekly, you can see that we are rejecting this lower high. This was our lower high and lower low. So everything between that is just a correction for more downside momentum. So yeah, we already had this nice rejection week and the deceleration with 1, 2, 3 weekly candles, with 1, 2, 3 weekly bearish candle closes with one very big impulsive. So that's nice to see. If I go now to the daily, oh, and on the weekly we had also a weekly minus 27 fib completion from the low here to the high. That's also an indication for me, like this here, aligning with that monthly zone. If I go now to the daily, then you can see we have a possible bearish W here that can play out, and we can come back till this major supply demand zone acting as support here, resistance, and it can act like resistance again for more downside momentum. So that's what I can see on the daily chart, and what I want to see on the 4-hour is just a break of structure here for the reversal pattern with a lot of buyers here sitting, and then we can go to this region, and if we can make here kind of bearish W or an head and shoulders, then I will take it to the downside. So that's what I want to see. So we need to have some patience for this trade. If I go to the next trade is GBPUSD. So on the monthly chart, you can see that we are going to the downside. We are trading to the downside. A major zone that can stop our price is this big buying zone. Every time we tap this zone from above, acting as support, support from below, resistance, support, support, resistance, support, and now it can act like support again. But what I can already see is if I go to the weekly, I think we have also a monthly fib completion from the high here to the low. from this high to the low. Yes, we have a minus 27 monthly fib completion, so that's nice that the bulls can kick in. If I go to the weekly chart, you can see that we made a weekly bullish candle close. So this week this will close bullish at the weekly lows. So this can be a double bottom, and then we can go to the highs again here, which is also a big supply and demand zone here. So that's the thing we need to be careful for. So, and if I take my horizontal black line at this lows like this, you can see that this is a kind of supply and demand zone acting as support here, support, resistance, support here, support, resistance, support, resistance here. So it's a very big supply and demand zone that can hold our price up. So if I go now to the daily, you can see that we can make a pattern. This is the shoulder 1, this head, possible shoulder 2 for more upside momentum till the daily minus 27, which is aligning with the weekly highs and this selling zone with the institutional candle. So that's what I can see on GBPUSD, and on the 4-hour, what I want to see is, because we are bearish at the 4-hour, that we can make this kind of bearish W, touch this zone, and then making that smaller bullish M here, or the reversal pattern. So then I can take my trade. So that's what I can see on GBPUSD. We need to wait for a pattern first. So the next pair is GBPCAD. So if I go to the monthly, you can see we are at the major buying zone. We can make a pattern. So we have this same lows. So this is the head, shoulder 1, head, shoulder 2, which is nice. And if I go a little bit more back and I drew this zone a little bit further, you can see this is a major supply and demand zone acting as support here, buyers kicking in, resistance, resistance, support, support again, and support here. So major supply and demand zone, which is nice. And we are rejecting from that already. If I go to the weekly, you can see we made a weekly bullish candle close, and this can be deceleration of 1, 2, 3, and possible 4th candle at this daily white zone, as you can see. So that's nice. We had already almost a monthly fib completion. So I think it was from this zone, from the high here to the low. No, it was more like this. Minus 60.80 here, minus 60.80 fib completion. Like this, minus 60.80, it just didn't tap, but yeah, for me, it's a fib completion. So if I go to the weekly, then we have that bullish candle close. So then I went to the daily and I saw, okay, we can make a pattern within a pattern. So we just didn't made that shoulder 1 at shoulder 2. We just didn't tap that. But what I can see now is that we can have this bullish M within that, and we can touch these lows again. We need to see what will happen. We can also reverse at this 61.80 and 78.60, and then we can make a pattern for more upside momentum. But we need to see. If I go to the 4-hour chart, you can see that we are making this smaller bearish W right now that can possibly trigger the bears with these sellers here sitting. So as you can see, if I drew my line here, the sellers are sitting here, resistance, resistance, support, resistance. So we can go to the downside. So if we go like this impulsively and we can touch this daily zone of interest and make a pattern, something like a reversal pattern, shoulder 1, head, shoulder 2, or like this, a bullish M here for more upside momentum. So yeah, we need to wait for that part. If I go now to GBP AUD on the monthly chart, you can see that we are also at a major monthly buying zone. As you can see, I will draw my box here, and you can see that this was acting as, like back in history, this was acting as support here, support, resistance, false break of that zone, resistance, support, triggered bullish momentum, support, resistance, support, support, support. Every time we are acting as support, big impulses came from that zone, as you can see. So that's very nice to see. And we are already rejecting that zone with a monthly bullish candle. So that's nice to see. And if I go now to the weekly, you can see we made that weekly bullish candle close, and we can decelerate here for 1, 2, 3 and a possible 4th week. So if I go now to the daily chart, you can see we can make a pattern within a pattern. We can make this shoulder 1, head shoulder 2, and that bullish M for more upside momentum, as you can see. So that's nice aligning also with that weekly deceleration box, that blue box. If I go now to the 4-hour, yeah, we need to see some more development, but we are already making this ascending channel, so we can at some point go to the downside to break this structure, and then go into the downside to make a reversal pattern here, or that bullish M here for more upside momentum. So a lot of trades that we need to have patience for. And then last pair is NZDCHF. So on this pair, I will set my limit on Monday already. So if I go to the monthly, you can see that we already made here the kind of supply and demand zone. So acting as support here, support, resistance, support, resistance, resistance here. So that's nice. We already made a double top with a bearish W here, and the head and shoulders also. So here is the shoulder 1, the head, shoulder 2. So you can see, so on the monthly line chart, it will be more clear. Shoulder 1, head, shoulder 2. So that's nice. If I go now to the weekly chart, as you can see, so I will draw this descending trend line a little bit better, like this. It's more clear. Then we have that first touch, second touch, third touch for more downside momentum. So that's nice. And we have this high and low here. So also a big bearish impulse to the downside. We rejected that zone with 1, 2, 3, 4 weekly candles, with then impulsive move to the downside, and now we have a weekly bearish candle close. So then I went to the daily chart, and I can see that we can have this bearish W, which we already rejected from that monthly daily supply and demand zone, acting as support, support, resistance, support, resistance. So we already rejected from that, but I want to look further for shorts, because we are around that 61.80 and we can reach the daily take profit point. So if I go to the 4-hour, then I can see we had this nice shoulder 1, this head shoulder 2, which got respected, and then we can have that smaller bearish W here, and then I want to take my trade at this beginning of the correction of this high. So this is a smaller bearish W. I take my Fibonacci from the high here, so from the high here till the low here, and yeah, from the whole structure, because the chances are very high that we can come back to this beginning of correction here, which we already did from here to here. So yeah, I will set my limit here with my stop loss more than enough, with like my minus 27 will be around 2%, so like this 15 pips, and then this will be enough for me personally. So yeah, and then we can target the daily minus 27 for around 7%. So that's what I can see on NZDCHF. So this was my last pair, and I hope you have a great weekend, guys, and great trading week. And yeah, see you next week. Bye.